Hello, guys. How's it going? Welcome back to the Glue Guys podcast, episode 21. Didn't do a lot of research this week as far as who wears the 21 kit. Chad, who wears the 21 kit for the mighty Real Madrid?
You're putting me on the spot. I don't think anyone wears it right now. I will say Rodrigo had a decent spell in the 21 shirt. That was the number he was wearing when he had his infamous run, or his not even infamous, his famous run, scoring the two goals against City.
Of 3 minutes?
Yeah, exactly. We've gone over multiple times the Rodrigo Vinny career shirt timeline, so I don't want to go through that again, but just know Rodrigo's got a lot of numbers with us in 21. Probably his best moments so far.
I love it. How are we doing this week? Obviously, we missed you guys last week. Chad was kind of on the move or got a lot of stuff going around the holidays, so we apologize for missing out, but sometimes life gets in the way. If we get enough listeners and subscribers, maybe we could do this full time, do a little bit more of an emphasis on it, but we're still enjoying it out as we go.
Yeah, exactly. I'll take the blame for it. I had a last minute move that kind of came out of nowhere. And so that kind of put me on a time crunch over the past week. So shout out to Ethan, actually, who helped out with the move as well. So big plaudits for him. But, it was just a hectic week. And we didn't want to give you guys an episode where we're, kind of BSing it or half-assing. You guys, whatever listeners we have, you guys deserve more than that. So We're back. We're rested. We had our bye week. We were the number 1 overall seed, so we got the bye week, and now we're back, and we're not rusty. We're rested.
I love it. So you're exact opposite of every team in the playoff for college. So wanted to start off with a quick little topic because actually this was inspired by events in my classroom this past week.
Oh shoot!
Talking about
dangerous
current day players in their all-time ranking, sort of what. Because in the moment, it's kind of hard to say, who is going in what tier as they're still playing. And so I picked out 5 guys that are nearing the end of their career. One of the guys you probably would say is not near the end of their career, but, still getting to that mid to late 30s range. And so These guys have, for the most part, set the cement of their careers. And I wanted to get Chad's thoughts on ranking.
I was going to say, just to be clear, we're talking NBA. I don't know if you
had
said that.
NBA,
so, yeah. I didn't want us to get halfway through the topic and then be like, hey, Adama Traore, James Harden, where do you have him ranked?
Alex Ovechkin, where do you have him ranked in correlation to Kawhi? So I'm not going to make you put a number on these guys all time, but I want to say these 5 guys, if you had to rank them 1 to 5, so the best career, obviously, to the worst career, because there's 2 guys in here that I'm actually very, very interested to see what their ranking will be, all right?
Okay.
And so these 5 guys, in no order, that's just the order I thought of them: KD, Steph, Kawhi, Harden, and A day-to-day. Also known as Anthony Davis, to those of you that don't know.
So I'll start with the easiest one first. Steph is one out of that group. I don't have to really put too much thought into it. Plenty of people will say, oh, how could you say that? KD. I think KD's great. I'd actually probably have him too. Wouldn't have to think about that very much either. But I just think Steph is... it's not an accident that he's won 4 titles for a franchise that when he got there was literally in ruins. And I know people will go with the, oh man, they brought a team or they built a team around him. And I know there are going to be some people listening who want me to give Mark Jackson some credit for the Steph ascension, which is never going to happen from me. But I just think Steph is, he's... this is crazy as hell to say, and maybe some people might disagree. This might be one of the ones that gets pulled out as the TikToks, but I would argue that all time, Steph is probably closer to LeBron than he is KD. And that's because, whatever, I don't know how people do it, but for me personally, there's that tier 1 group. When I say tier 1, I mean tier 1, where you're talking
Jordan, LeBron,
yep,
Kareem.
Kareem, Russell, Magic. I think those 5 would be probably the group that's like, all right, these are, to me, the best. Like, nothing's really... I'm not going to say it's not debatable, but to me, it's really not debatable. Those are the 5 best players in the history of the NBA. Go ahead.
I'm not making this case. It's a legitimate question. What does Magic have over Steph?
9 finals in 12 years.
Okay. Because this is something that I was thinking about.
Oh, go ahead. I was going to say, I think he won like 3 MVPs as well, which, I mean, Steph has the back-to-back and the unanimous, so, you know, that could arguably be a wash. But I think the 9 finals in 12 years is kind of what does it.
Yeah, because some of my students actually, again, funnily enough, were kind of challenging me on it, being like, oh, Steph's actually the best point guard of all time. And I didn't have that knowledge off the top of my head, so I'm kind of like, I don't really have a like concrete thing where it's like, oh, well, Magic has this thing over him, and 9 out of 12 finals, and 5 rings.
5 rings.
Yeah,
5 rings to 4, and he has 3 finals MVPs to the 1 for Steph. So, like I said, it's not much. And look, certainly finals MVP is not going to be the end-all, be-all of rankings, because I promise you're not going to find Iguodala anywhere close to a top 100.
Right. So yeah, I thought that was really interesting. Sort of, kind of. I mean, even that, like the fact that someone can even ask the question, like, what does Magic have over Steph, kind of shows where Steph has ascended to. So, kind of trying to stay a little bit off topic, not trying to cut you off, but you said Steph. You're good. You said Steph, and then KD, and then remaining we have Kawhi, James Harden, and Anthony Davis. Now, very quickly before you give it, I kind of want to put us in a time machine to about 5-ish years ago today, and there was a legitimate claim. People were like, Kawhi is the best player in the league right now. He's going to be the best player for a while. This is right after he won the title with Toronto.
Yep.
And it was a weird time because at that time it's like, well, this is a guy that has won 2 titles and has 2 finals MVPs. So how is he not ahead of guys like Giannis and Jokic and even Steph at that point, who didn't have one, a Finals MVP, and so people were saying just at that single point, maybe he's the best player in the league, and now he's nowhere near that. So I'm very interested to see where the Kawhi ranking is going to be.
Yeah, I'll kind of talk you through the thought process of these 3, because like I said, the Steph, KD, I think those are a 1-2 pretty
far
easy.
And away, yeah.
Yeah, pretty easy. And then the next 3, like these next 3 guys, I honestly could argue in any sort of order. The Harden case I'll make first, because I feel like I'm low-key a Harden defender. I don't even know if it's low-key, honestly. But his longevity as kind of a individual scorer / the offensive fulcrum of a really good team. And look, you don't want to do that thing where you're like, oh, well, he played against the Warriors, so if he just doesn't do that, then he has 2 rings. Like, I'm not going to just automatically say that. But at the same time, we saw he was the closest person to even be able to compete against the Warriors when they were actually healthy. You know, obviously, Toronto beat him in the 19 finals, but that's with 2 of the 4 guys not being available. So, kind of don't count that as much. Sorry, Kawhi. Which then kind of brings you to the Kawhi case where it's like, okay.
But you do count the 15 finals. Cool.
15? Well, I mean, look, I count it because I like the Warriors, but I mean, I'm not a Warriors fan, but I enjoy Steph and I enjoy what they've done. But I don't expect any Cavs fan to say that it counts, and they have a very good argument for that. So, I think then talking about Kawhi, he obviously has the 2014 ring where he was the Finals MVP in San Antonio. And then he has the 19 ring in Toronto, the one we just mentioned. The funny thing about it is he has like 3 top 3 MVP finishes, like right there in between those 2. So he was really good in San Antonio, but the problem is he really, we're talking about a 5-year stretch for Kawhi, essentially, from 2014 to, obviously is he still good on the Clippers? Yes, no doubt about it. But if we're being honest, he has not lived up to the heights that we held him to, or the standard we held him to when he first signed for the Clippers.
This is kind of what intrigued me about him, because it kind of gets into peak versus career, like longevity, and sort of what do you value. A lot of people have kind of boiled even the GOAT debate down to that. It's like, would you rather have that, 6-year peak of Jordan when he won those six straight titles, or would you
6 straight titles in 9 years or 8 years?
6 straight titles in 8 years when he lost in the second round one of those years, but 6 straight. But
are we telling on ourselves, or we are on the end of that argument?
I'll let the people decide. So it's kind of like Kawhi had these years where it was like Depoy, and second in MVP voting, and then third in MVP voting, and Depoy, like, clearly right in that mix as one of the best players. And then in other years, aside from that, also won titles and finals MVPs. And I mean, a lot of people, who's the second best player on his team in Toronto, listener? Like, okay. Oh, in the actual playoff run, it was Fred VanVleet. Like,
him or Lowry, really.
That's what I mean.
And
no one's sitting there being like, bro, super team, VanVleet and Kyle Lowry backcourt. So, I mean.
I'll still never forget Ibaka in that Philly series looking like Durant in Game 7. I think he had like 20. He had like 4 contested threes in that one. I'm like, how is Serge Ibaka taking people off the dribble for pull-up dunking? But
he picked up a thing or two in OKC.
That just shows that Embiid has been cursed this entire time. So,
well, Embiid was trying to do pump fake threes against Marc Gasol, who was playing about 10 feet off of him the entire game, Game 7. So,
yeah, that was. Look, I'll always give Embiid a pass for any playoff series he had Ben Simmons on his team. But that's because I just think Simmons has been trash. And yes, I was saying this in 18, 19, and 20. No, I was. Calm down. But yeah, let me not delay. And then, then that's the Kawhi case. And then you have Anthony Davis, who, the more you think about it, I feel like it's probably easiest to put Davis at 5th, just because I don't even think, like, when you talk about Kawhi, you talked about that short peak. At least for those 5 years, though, he was, like, very consistent. For the 5 to 6 years, really. I mean, the 1 year that he kind of sat out basically was San Antonio when he had the injury or whatever the hell that no one gives him shit about to this day, which is so crazy because, like, it's kind of the same thing as when we talk about the Jordan. Like, if LeBron was just like, hey, I'm good for 2 years, like in his prime.
Yeah.
Like right after, like let's say right after he won that 16 title for the Cavs, they beat Golden State. KD joins the Warriors, and then going into the season, LeBron is just like, hey, I'm good, by the way. I'll see you guys in a couple years. So that kills me. That kills me. But the Kawhi thing, too, like, if LeBron did that, or hell, even if, really any guy, like, I actually don't understand how Kawhi kind of just escapes, and maybe it's just because,
he was like
thing. Yeah, he ended up, all the teams he's kind of been on have not been teams that have been in, like, the public spotlight, I would say. San Antonio, Toronto, or the Clippers. So that's interesting. The more I've been talking about it, I think I've kind of constructed my final list. I'm going to go Davis at 5. I'm going to go Harden at 4. I'm going to go Kawhi at 3, KD at 2, and then Steph Curry in the 1 spot.
Yeah, it's just...
The only argument I can really make is between the 3 and 4, between Kawhi and Harden.
Yeah, the only reason I threw Davis in there, and I know people listening would be like, oh, Ethan, you're an idiot. Why are you throwing Anthony Davis in that list? Over a 6-year span, those last 5 years in New Orleans and the first year in LA, this dude was 26 and 11 on, which is insane, on like 52% shooting and top 4 finishes in the Depoy 3 times. Got a top 3 MVP finish. Was obviously an all-star the whole time. First team All-NBA 4 of those 6 years. And it's just like, man, I feel like because, again, like you said, the small market thing in New Orleans and then the second banana to LeBron thing kind of has derailed a little bit of the part. Because, when it was like 18, 19 range, there was legitimate talks where it was like,
he's not in the NBA.
I say he's not the he's not LeBron. But if you had a game tomorrow and you're like, hey, we got to win we got to win tonight in San Antonio or whatever. Who do you want on your team? Or like, I'm starting a franchise. Who do you want on your team? Anthony Davis is by far and away. Now, to be fair, that starting the franchise thing also led people to pick Karl Anthony Towns around 2020 range. So take that with the grain.
That was closer to like 15, 16. By 2020, people knew it Towns. They weren't tricked anymore.
So
but yeah, I mean, the Anthony Davis, like in 2018 playoffs, I'll never forget that first round against Portland where he just goes off. Him and Drew Holiday. They I think they swept Portland, beat the hell out of him. He might have put up, like, honestly, close to, like, 35 and 15 a game in the series. And, you know, going into the next round, they're playing the Warriors, and people are like,
Yeah.
You know, and I think Steph was hurt at the time, too, so they're like, hey, man, Davis can take him to 6. Davis can go to 6. And, you know, it's like, man, would you want anybody over Davis right now? Exactly, you know, what you said. So, maybe Davis probably does have a bit more consistency than I'm giving him credit for. And the weird thing is, though, like, he kind of had those 2 years where he was kind of dropped off for the Lakers, you know, the Westbrook year. And then it was also, like, just, I don't know, maybe I've watched too much of him in L.A. where you could just see moments where he's just like, you know, him and LeBron are, like, kind of talking after the timeout, and it's like, can you believe these fucking guys? Like, seriously? Like, look at the rest of this group out here, and they're so bound and determined to be like, hey, we don't need to go hard or care, but we will sometimes. So, but last year he was amazing. He was amazing for the Lakers second half of the season. So always to say, like, could he put together another, you know, 2-3 year stretch where, you know, he makes maybe another run or something like that? I mean, because the Lakers have made him kind of their offensive guy more so now, especially this year, but even last year. So it'd be interesting to see. It's a debate that's not completely closed for at least one of the guys. I think you would safely say AD is probably the only one that can kind of still, for the most part, do stuff to his legacy.
Yeah, and me and Chad have kind of talked about this a couple times when we talk about sort of this era of player. It's like, oh, they could. What if this guy won another title? It's kind of like, well, it kind of depends. Like, if LeBron goes to the Nuggets, I'm not saying this is going to happen or predicting, but it's like, if LeBron goes to the Nuggets and plays with Jokic and averages, you know, 16 and 10, does this? It's like, oh, well, LeBron got a 5th ring, so he's up there.
Right.
He passed Jordan. Like, no one's going to say that. Or so even if a guy like a Harden or a guy like a KD, which impossible for that guy to win another title. Would it really change anything? And that's where it kind of comes down to, because really for that title to be a career-changing thing, you have to be the guy, and I find it kind of hard to see any of those guys being the guy on a title team, except I guess maybe AD, but he wouldn't get the credit for it because he's with LeBron.
I wouldn't completely rule out. The only one of those I could 100% rule out, I think, being the best guy on a title right now. Really, I think it is, just because I don't think he, in the last 5 years, he just hasn't had the consistency aspect health-wise.
Right.
So, and I mean, so I guess maybe even saying Harden is a stretch, but the other 3, for sure, I think I could still see them all being faces of a title team. Now, granted, the teams they're on just really aren't good enough this year to be title teams.
Yeah, I mean, when Harden was averaging 36 and 12 and he couldn't get to the finals, I'm going to pretty safely say that he's not going to make it now with his current situation.
Lowly likely that that's going to be happening.
Yeah, so I'm glad we did a small opening topic that lasted 20 minutes.
15 minutes.
Yeah. So I just want to, just a fun topic there. We also have some fun topics coming up. Today we are going to also move through a couple of things. Number one, we're going to talk about some commissioner rules if we were a commissioner for a day in sort of these sports, I guess, because some of them aren't really leagues, they're more sports. And then we're going to do a little world football, who he play for. A little shout out to Charles Barkley, who never knows who anyone's playing for.
Yeah. If we get 2 out of 5, then we'll do better than Barkley. So the bar is not set very high.
Exactly. So let's go commissioner for a day. Let's go sport by sport. You'll give yours and I'll give mine. Let's start with soccer. Let's start with, if you're the president of FIFA, I guess you would say in this, if you're Infantino, what would your rule change around the sport be? Chad Larson is now FIFA president in 2025, and he mandates what?
First off, if I'm Johnny Infantino, I'm going to a meeting and standing side by side next to Bezos, just to prove that they're not the same person, because I'm not 100% sure yet.
No one's ever seen him in the same room.
Yeah, well, I mean, the only thing is like, and I don't want to be too mean, but with Bezos, he's got the eye, so you can probably exactly. So you can probably distinguish, but I don't know. Maybe he throws in like a fake one or something to cover up. But if I'm Infantino, the first thing that I'm doing is, and this is a rule that you talked about, I would kind of implement across all leagues. I know some leagues kind of do the league table differently and stuff, but if two teams have equal points at the end of the season,
this is your favorite rule.
Yeah, exactly. It is. And this is not just, I want to make this clear, this is not just league title either. This is league title, specific European places. Now, if you're just saying like 10th versus 11th, okay, that doesn't matter. But if it's like, Premier League example of like 4th versus 5th, like 4th and 5th are on the same level number of points, boom, you're playing a one-off match to determine who gets that Champions League spot.
Oh, that one I did. That one I was not prepared for. In the past, Chad has made the argument that I believe this is the rule in Serie A, that if teams are equal on points, then it's head-to-head is the first tiebreaker between the two clubs. And
I think it is now, but that's a rule that they just changed recently, because they actually used to have the one-off rule, and I think they only did that for the title in Serie A, to be clear. But yep, I would do a one-off match between the teams. The only asterisk is the team with the higher goal differential going into the game gets to be the home team. So I think, I actually kind of like that goal differential still kind of plays a factor in the season, and I think it has more to do with probably the lower teams than it does the teams at the top, usually. But it kind of forces, it's kind of like this underlying rule that forces every team to kind of do, play as hard as they can for the full game. And I know that sounds stupid to say, and it's maybe childish, but it's like, you can't just, like, if you're down, like we see in baseball or something, if you're down 12-2, in the 7th inning, the backup right fielder is coming in to pitch or something like that, because baseball, they just don't give a shit. They value resting the arms. They value resting the arms more so than like getting embarrassed. Versus soccer, where I feel like you really can't do that because of the goal difference and the threat that it plays to the standings. So I do want to keep a small aspect of that, but yeah, I just want to see more one-off games. I know the soccer people will argue, oh, that's not a fair representation of the consistency that it takes to do whatever over a season. This is why I'm saying if they're tied on points. Clearly it means they did something to be in the same spot, and I just would want to see it. So
yeah,
that's my first
I don't hate that at all. Again, the soccer purists will, again, we post this on TikTok, they'll say, do you even watch football? Which is a great piece of analysis.
The Liverpool people were telling you.
Yeah, I was getting a lot of hate on TikTok, and which is fine, honestly. I was wrong, so I'll hold my hands up. I was wrong that Liverpool were 8 points clear in April or March or whatever I said. They were just top for 4 straight months and finished third.
Yeah, it doesn't.
So that's check on me.
Yeah. I was gonna say, it doesn't hurt your point too much, but
yeah. But
so give me yours. Give me just to be clear. Oh, sorry, just one more point on it, just because I did do a bit of research and I wanna show off for the Premier League. This rule, I've looked at the possibilities of this rule since 2010. There have only been 3 instances where it would have even happened. So, it's a Halley's Comet type of event, something that would be special. Obviously, United versus City for the title in 2011-2012, which you could argue, oh well, then it takes away the Aguero moment and all that stuff. But my thing is, it still would have gotten them level on points,
right,
which would have then led to the game. So. Still backing it there. 2015-16, funnily enough, again, Man City versus Man United for the last Champions League spot, which City ended up getting on goal difference, but again, under my rule, got to play another 90. and then 2019-20 Tottenham versus Wolves for a Europa League spot.
RIP to Wolves in 2020, man. That 2020 Wolves side.
I know, right? It was like, man, did I not? It was funny because I was looking back at some of the. It just kind of made me go back and look at the Premier League table. For
Everton
the last
finishing fifth that one year.
I think the Burnley seventh one was still like. I'm like, this is a team that's gone down multiple times since then. Like, not a long period of time.
Sheffield eighth, I think that same Wolves season, maybe. Something like that. It might have been the season before.
Yeah, I think they were in 20. Yeah, I think there was just 19-20. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, something like that. So it's like a lot of weird results throughout the seasons. I mean, Leicester was up there finishing fifth consistently for a couple of years. Then they went down. So always more up and down the Premier League than we give it credit for. Apart from like really that top 4 or 5, depending on who you count in that. So. For me, my rule change is a lot smaller scale, and I think it just contribute to flow of game. If a player stays down on the pitch after any tackle, they are required to wait on the touchline for 1 minute, for one entire minute of the ball being in play. The fourth official will start his watch when the ball starts in play. So it's not just like the guy standing over a free kick for a full minute, and then he can come back on. 1 minute of the ball being in play, because as much as I love to say that it's part of the game, and it definitely is, so I'm not going to deny that, it's just really frustrating seeing these guys either barely get touched or kind of get touched. They grab their ankle, they roll, they win the foul, they get the trainer out, they stretch for 5 minutes, and then they get straight up and get in the box for the free kick, and then they score. And it's like, okay, so how hurt were you? My joke with my fiance, all right, my joke with her is that, is just like, bro, if I was a Premier League player, every single time someone did that, I would be like, trainer, he's really hurt. Come on. So
100%.
So I just think this is going to curb a lot of that. Like Anthony Gordon, like grabbing his ankle and screaming for dear life every single play he gets touched. It's just frustrating to watch. It slows down the flow of the game. And my team is definitely Kai Havertz can't play, actually, so he's resorted to doing that's his whole game now, is just grabbing his ankle and crying. So, I just think the flow of the game would be a lot smoother, and it'll sort of solve 2 issues at once, or 2 or 3 issues, actually. Like diving would go down, and the stoppage times would go down, and it would add to a lot more of just like, hey, you got fouled, get up, let's play. Obviously, you might have to have a little hobble or a little ankle rotation to like kind of get it back in, but we don't need to pull the trainers out, spray the spray, get some water, stretch out, come off for a second, hold the play up, retake the free kick, because then like 4 minutes have gone by, and then somehow at the end of the game, they only add 3 minutes of extra time.
Yeah, no, I love that. I actually love that rule. The only problem is, I think John McGinn would probably just hand over the armband. He'd be like, "Hey, this sport isn't even for me. I'm good." I especially love the part where you're saying the ball in play, because Atletico Madrid would easily be the team to be like, "All right, we'll just play with 10 consistently, but the ball will never be in play."
Yeah.
I'll never forget they had a Champions League game. I think it was them versus Liverpool when they beat Liverpool a couple years ago, which I was definitely happy about, obviously. Where I think the ball was in play for I think it was 13 minutes in the second half.
So Atleti, bro. I love Simeone, man. I really do.
Yeah. So well, I mean, you guys have become the Atleti of the Prem.
I've actually thrown my hands up and accepted it, man. We had a throw in against Brighton like 2 weeks ago.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
With literally there's 20 seconds left in the game. It's 1-1.
Yeah.
This dude Thomas Partey goes. Saliba's standing wide open, like
right
3
there.
yards
Yeah,
from
right
him,
there.
and he literally. I think the game ends with the ball in his hands, trying to time waste at 1-1.
Today and we're recording this right after the Arsenal United FA Cup match, which Ethan's he's in a lot better spirits than I was anticipating, so I'm happy about that. But in that game, Odegaard, I actually counted it, stood over a free kick for 87 seconds. Like one free.
Is this the one where he fake took it, like he ran over the ball and then came back?
No, it was one where it was him and Raheem Sterling standing over it, which Sterling standing over a free kick in 2025, that was like, it was for a left footer 100%. That's got to be the most, like, non-threatening someone has ever stood over a free kick in history.
You want to hear
Like,
something
like,
worse? He was our best attacker today.
Oh, he was. No, he was. It would. I actually look. I mean, I'm joking about the free kick. I actually thought he played well in the game.
Exactly, which pisses me off. I told Savannah, I was like, he's gonna score like 3 goals at the tail end of this season. We're gonna spend $25 million on him, and he's never gonna touch the pitch ever again.
No, come on, you guys can't do that. You can't make the version of the Aubameyang Lacazette mistake for the 3rd time, can you?
No, we couldn't. We're very capable of that.
Okay, interesting. I think that one of us that we went, me more on the
Administrative side.
Than you more in the game flow. So interesting there.
Well, for NFL, I went
NFL.
Administrative. So did you go on the field?
I went administrative all 3 sports. I'm a company guy. You know how I am.
Yeah, he's financial as hell. So for the NFL, I just don't care that you won the division. I'm sorry. I just don't.
This is interesting because this has actually been getting a lot of talk in the past week. I think this season it's been more of a topic than I've ever seen before.
Yeah,
so
so
interesting.
I want you to be in the playoffs, but you're just not getting a top 4 seed.
Okay. NBA rules, basically.
Correct. Where it's just like, congrats, yeah, because the most infamous example I remember when I was a really young kid, the Seahawks, did they go 7-9 or 8-8?
7-9.
They went 7-9, won the NFC West, and got in the playoffs. Got a top 4 seed, and it's just like, why are they playing at home? They won 7 games. They probably won 4 games at home, and somehow they get a home game out of it.
The best part was they then went on and won the playoff game, and people were just furious. People were pissed.
Yeah,
I think they beat Minnesota or something like that.
Exactly. So it's like, you can get in. Winner of each division deserves to get in. That kind of goes along with that sort of divisional rivalry, making those divisional games always count, because one of these teams is making it to the playoffs regardless. There were a couple years in the NFC East where everyone was trying their damnedest not to make the playoffs, but obviously you have a team that needs to make it.
Revolving door of division winners for like 10 straight years. I mean, that's just insane.
Exactly. So, and then also sort of like as a caveat to it, so all teams are going to just be seeded according to record. That's number 1.
Yep.
And then this is how the tiebreakers will go. I worked out 4 of them. All right. There's head-to-head, which is obvious. Okay. Then record against other teams in the conference. Other playoff teams in the conference, against other playoff teams. I want to know if you're just beating the shit out of the shitty teams all the time, or are you beating good teams? Yep. Then we have record versus conference overall, and then if it all boils down after that, I want points scored. It needs to be points scored. I want something.
I'm with you.
And I'm okay, actually, if it's points scored or points against. I just want some show of, like, you either value their defense or you value their offense. Point differential would work, too. It's something, obviously, as a soccer person that I've learned to find a lot of value in. Like, so for example, if the Chiefs end up, 15-2, but they've only won games by a margin of 3.5 points every single game, whereas the other 15-2 teams has beaten everyone by like 30 every week, I want that team to be rewarded for it. So I think that would kind of be my administrative rule change in the NFL, sort of tweaking the playoff seeding a little bit.
I don't mind it. The thing that's unique to me, I think, about the NFL is how much they care about the division. Like, to me, more than any other sport, it's like, even when you hear the coaches, and I remember Mike Lombardi, who I think was just an excellent podcaster because he was one of the few guys giving the GM side of things at a really good level. He would talk all the time when he was with the Patriots about, we really emphasize where we ranked compared to the rest of the division. And this is the Patriots, who at the time were doing it as well as anybody. Mm-hmm. So clearly they had, it's not like they were, they were like, well, we're only valuing the division and we're going 2-14 every year, so we're doing great. Clearly it wasn't that. But the NFL, they care very much about the division. How are we ranking against the division? All this type of stuff. A lot of the division rivalries that have been created. So I like that you're keeping the division aspect still a part of it. But yeah, I don't mind. I don't mind it. I just think the Seahawks one is just hilarious to me.
I also remember the year the Cowboys, a couple years ago, we had to go down to Tampa Bay, even though we won like three more games than them. We smacked the shit out of them too. But so it kind of ended up not mattering. But
we made Brady retire. That's like our number one. That's like our Cowboys Super Bowl for our fandom.
That's the year that Brett Maher, I think he missed 4 straight extra points in that game.
Yeah, he did. He literally did.
We were up 24-0 and we scored 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, that was like the only thing that made you not able to celebrate the game in like the first 2 quarters.
Yeah.
And then of course the next week we went and played I think San Francisco and got worked.
Yeah.
But whatever.
So what's your NFL rule change? Another administrative one. What kind of topic are you tackling?
It is. We're doing a designated player contract. I'm trying to cut down on the NFL movement. I think in a lot of sports, movement is good. I think in the NFL, I kind of value the continuity aspect a bit more.
Yeah.
So this is how the rule is going to go down. Any non-quarterback, cannot be a quarterback that was drafted by the team and played there for at least 5 seasons.
No salary cap.
So you have to. What's that?
Never mind. Go on.
And then let's say they sign a 5-year contract. Okay. The first year of that contract, 0% of their salary is against the cap. None of it at all. You get like a free year. Then the next 2 seasons, you get at 50%. So, still a really good discount, but you're still obviously paying some of it.
So if someone's making $40 million, only $20 million of that goes into your cap
against
considerations. Okay.
Yep, correct. And then years 4 and 5, and really this could just be year 4 and beyond, 75% of the salary goes against the cap. And the reason why I scaled it that way is because a lot of times those guys are really worth the value in years 6, 7, and 8. And I just wouldn't want it to be one of those things where you still get you still get a lot of help in years 9 or 10, and then all of a sudden it's just like, well, we can just sign a guy to 5 or 6 year deal. Who gives a shit? If it doesn't work out, it's not like it's going to kill us. That's why, like, after those first couple years, then you can't just be like, it doesn't matter if he's really contributing for us. We can keep him because he's not hurting our cap. I want there to still be a decision-making, process and a decision-making period, but I want it to be able to keep teams together for at least a little bit longer than they can now.
So, kind of to go along with this rule, is there any cap with it whatsoever? Or could I conceivably say, well, not Patrick Mahomes because you said that, but like Jamar Chase, like, hey, 5 years, $500 million. Obviously, that's not going to be the deal, but like, is that conceivable?
You could do that.
Okay,
you could do that.
Wow. So no cap, no cap to the salary. That's very, very interesting, especially how I feel like that would kind of go the way NIL is right now, where a team would get...
it would be crazy for about 3 years.
Yeah, a team would be like...
People would lose their minds.
Yeah, they'd be like, hey, again, Jamar Chase would probably be a great example. They'd be like, hey, Jamar, 5 years, $300 million. You're getting $60 million a year. And then he'd get hurt like in year 2, and it's like, okay, we're never doing this again. And every team would need to make a mistake or two before they kind of caught on.
Yep. Another caveat that I would throw in there that I actually just thought of with you saying that, there couldn't be... So let's say... We'll just say for simple math, we'll go say a 5-year, $100 million deal.
20 a year.
Correct, in theory. But the way the NFL does it, they like to sometimes front load the deals where they're putting, let's say they put like $40 million in the first year of it, and then it's kind of like structured a little bit differently. The cap charge will be equal throughout the deal. So you can give them, 5 for 100, and you can give them, $50 million of cash in the first year of the deal. But regardless of how you structure it, it's still going to count against the cap.
2020.
Yeah, or not. It's not going to count against the cap that way, but just the cap number is going to be out of that every year. So
Right.
obviously the first year 0, then 10, 10, and then 15, 15. So
Yeah, because that would lead to teams being like, hey, we're giving you 5 years, $100 million. The first year, since it doesn't count,
90.
90, and then we're going to go 10, 10, 10. So that's a good caveat right there. I really like that.
No, okay. NBA. Let's get to it. I'm gonna actually give mine first.
Perfect.
I'm gonna go again, because this actually applies to not only you but the Cavs as well. I'm getting rid of the Stepien rule. Do you know what the Stepien rule is? I don't want to put you on the spot.
Who doesn't? No, I have no idea what that is.
It's the rule where you cannot trade consecutive first-round picks. It was named after former Cavs owner Ted Stepien, who owned the team from 80 to 83.
I just forgot that. It just slipped my mind.
Yeah. So in that 3-year run, Cleveland 66 and 180. So averaging 22 and 60 per season under Stepien. Traded away 6 consecutive first-round picks in that time period, and had 6 head coaches in 3 years, including 4 in 1 year. All this to say, I think Ted Stepien is probably the worst person to ever get a rule named after him, or like a bill named after him, or anything like that. Or not worst person, sorry, most incompetent at the thing that they're getting a rule for.
I think
most
inherently
incompetent at their job.
The Allen Houston rule, by definition,
Allen Houston at least was good. Allen Houston, while I agree at the time it was atrocious, he still had a point in time where clearly someone was like, hey, he's worth, X amount of money.
When you have a rule named after, hey, if a guy's so shitty you can cut his ass, and it's named after you, then it's not even used on you, which is also insane.
Yeah.
I feel like you get a special place in everyone's heart.
It is a good counter. It is a good counter, to be fair, and I can't disagree with it that well. But the Stepien numbers are just, outrageous.
Okay, so you're getting rid of that.
Yeah. So you can trade whatever you want, whenever you want, and I would honestly just love to see it happen for one specific guy, and that would be Matt Ishbia, the Suns owner, because I think he's in that period, new owner syndrome, and he's in that period where
he's still splashing.
He's capable of doing anything right now. Like, if you lifted it, him and Ballmer would be competing against each other to see who could give up 10 first-round picks for a 6-man first.
Yeah, that's hilarious because I always think that rules about, like, salary caps and, trading away picks are so funny because they're like, hey, there are some GMs or some owners that we have that are so stupid that we actually have to make rules that they can't be as stupid as they want to be. And I just want a free market in these sports. Yeah. Because people are always bitching about like the Yankees or the Mets or guess who hasn't won a World Series in forever? Those two teams. I know the Yankees won one in 2009, but it's like, just because you have the most money isn't like, well, if there's no salary cap, then this team's going to win every time. Clearly, that's why Man United wins the league every year. Clearly, that's why the Yankees win the title every year. Like, of course, it's going to help, but it's not like guaranteed. Like, oh, if we don't spend a $1 trillion, then we can't win. Like, no, that's not how that works. It's just these dudes are stupid. They want to give Juan Soto $770 million over 15 years. So I don't.
And honestly, like the amount of, and I know we've done it extensively on soccer, and I know basketball is the same, and I'm sure if you looked at baseball, it'd be the same as well. But here's the largest, like the percentage, the amount of times where the largest contract in the history of the sport ends up working out is so, like when it's a free agent, especially, is probably so little. Like it's not. Like, it's not creating an advantage one way or the other, the way, exactly like you said, the way people would think it would.
Literally the only one that has worked out in, like, recent memory was Pat Mahomes getting that 10-year, $500 million contract. Like,
and even that one, like, the ones with the incumbent team, I don't really put into the same category, but I'm just talking about, like, the free agency where it's, because that's what it would be. Yeah. People would be worried about, I guess.
That's why I don't count the team law contract.
I think the Jags fans are hoping that they can't count it either, but unfortunately, I think it's counting.
Yeah.
I think it's counting.
Yeah, that's
sadly.
terrible. So, my NBA start talk. First off, I want to say I promise it's going to be a minute or less. Okay, can we stop
Okay,
with the people bitching? Like, oh, bro, if they called travels and carries, then we would actually watch basketball. Shut the hell up, bro. You're not sitting there watching the NBA and being like, dude, that was a travel. I'm turning this crap off. Like, no one's doing that. Like, LeBron will have like a dunk, or Giannis will have like a dunk. It's like, he took one dribble in the other half of the court. Can you believe he can do that? He's ruining the game.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah. And it's like a 1-on-0 fast break.
Yeah.
No one's in front of him.
I'm like, oh,
I
think...
don't think him having to put the ball on the ground a second time would have stopped him from scoring.
And then they'll turn around and be like, yeah, the Jordan shot against the Jazz, greatest shot of all time. Even though he shoved the shit out of the guy. I love that. But Giannis
Not
walking...
if you ask Kenny Smith. Not if you ask Kenny
Well, he
Smith.
got lost in the shake, and then he guided him. He guided him away. But anyway, yeah, so I'm not in one of those guys that's like, we need to have, these guys hunker down on the rules or whatever stupid shit people like to say. I'm actually going to shout out a YouTube channel that I got this from. It's called AM Hoops. It went under his category of crazy suggestions, but I actually thought about it and I was like, dude, that'd be really, really fun. Each team before the season
I love this rule.
gets to draw their own three-point line.
Yep. Zach Lowe has been a fan of this one for at least a decade.
And so
He's been on this.
Let me kind of explain it to people that have never heard of this. So,
yeah, sure.
The way that I put it out is there'd be a minimum and a maximum. So the minimum would be 20 and a half feet, which I believe is the college 3-point line. And then 24 feet would be the maximum because that just eliminates the corner threes. So it's kind of like you can kind of play with anything inside there. And it's kind of rule is kind of based off of baseball, because if you don't keep up with baseball, literally the outfield fences, you would think like, oh, everyone has an outfield fence that's 380 feet all the way around, or standardized and something like that. Not true. There are teams that have like 285, like whatever the Yankees have in left field.
Yeah,
where it's
I love seeing the stat where it's like, this is the only stadium it would be a homer in.
Yeah, exactly. They got like 289 down the left field line, 420 to center field, all this other stuff. And then there are some teams that are like, have huge fields that they're just like, I want to push it all the way back. And that actually differentiates their roster construction. They're like, well, we play in a small ballpark. We don't really give a shit about pitching because guys are going to give up a shit ton of home runs. Our pitchers are going to give up a shit ton of home runs anyway. So we might as well just focus on getting the best bats we can possibly get so that we can hit more home runs than the other team hits. Yeah. And it differs. Exactly. The Rockies in Coors Field are famous for being like, hey, if you hit a ball in the air, it's probably going out. And it also even applies to soccer. For those of you that don't know, there is a range of field sizes. It has to be between these two widths, it has to be between these two lengths. And so some of the smaller clubs will try and make it as small as possible so that people don't have as much room to play, whereas teams like Arsenal, Man City will try to make it as big as possible so they have as much room to play in as they possibly can. So this also kind of... Go on.
I was just going to say, that just was like, if you watched the Tottenham game today, like I know you did, honestly, that field looked like it could have fit inside the 18 of some other stadium. It's like, I was like, my God.
It looks like some of the high school fields that we played on at Bethel.
Yeah, exactly.
So it adds a little bit of differentiation, and also one of the big talking points, whether it's true or not, I don't know. A lot of people have been like, well, I don't like watching the NBA because it's the same thing over and over again. With this rule, it wouldn't be. They're like, you know what? We're going to make a huge 3-point line so that you can only make threes from like 25 feet out. And so it's going to be hard as shit to make threes. So we're going to have a big ass team. We're going to have guys that can score on the interior, guys that are good mid-range jump shooters. So then we can because we have a big ass court or a big ass 3-point line. Other teams would be like, hey, we're going to have a small 3-point line. And I'm kind of interested to see. I would be interested to see what the Warriors would do if they'd make it huge because Steph can hit it from anywhere, or if they'd make it super short, or if they'd make it super short because it's like, well,
he could hit more.
Let's say every single shot he'd take would be like a 3, and so
And even that, like teams trying to decide, like, we have this kind of team. Should we make it really big, kind of big, keep it normal? We have a lot of corner 3 shooters, so we're going to make it small and have those guys be corner 3 shooters. So I think it just adds a little bit more variation into the game. And again, really, really cool suggestion from AM Hoops that differentiates roster construction, and also home field advantage will be a thing. Imagine a finals where one team has the smallest
100%.
3-point line in the league and the other one has the biggest, and they're going back and forth. It's like, oh, hey, whoever, Christian Brown, no corner 3s because they don't exist.
The series where I think about it, where it would have made perfect sense in NBA history, was the Grizzlies versus Warriors in the second round in 15. When Warriors, even then, most threes. I mean, they were definitely taking the most threes in the league at the time. And then the Grizzlies, who were obviously still built out of the post and mid-range and all that type of stuff. The one question I have, I want to clarify, would it have to be the same distance all the way around, or could you be like, hey, I want it 24 feet at the top of the key and I want it 20 feet 9 inches in the corners, or would it have to be the same?
I hadn't thought about that, but I would like it to be kind of however you would want it. Like if you want it to be super deep at the top of the key, but then also have corner 3s, you can do that. If you're just like, you know what, we can't shoot 3s for shit,
to me,
we're just going to push it all the way out so that no one can shoot corner 3s against us.
Yeah. To me, that's what would make sense for the Warriors, I think, would be would be a big... Sorry, Mbappe's one-on-one. Killian, and he was on sides, no doubt.
No one had me, probably wouldn't.
But that's the thing. I think if you were a team like the Warriors, you'd probably have the short 3-pointer in the corners because you still want to have that aspect to your game. But then do the long distance, from straight on or like kind of the arced part. Because you have those shooters like Steph and Clay. Because, it's not like those guys are going to be shooting corner 3s. Obviously, I know Clay's not there anymore.
I'm about to say Clay got it.
Historically. Well, Buddy Hield, if you're going to talk about 3-point shooters, he's definitely there.
That's a foul on Vinny.
Oh, no chance. Get out of here. If they call, I'm going to be so mad.
I'm going to be
so mad.
So jokes. But just wondering, were there any, I know we gave one per sport, but were there any either in a different sport that you thought of or any where you had, a different one that you kind of had to cut out because you either didn't think about it enough or you just didn't prioritize it?
Soccer, I did have a backup rule where if you want to bitch about your team's financials, you have to contribute to a fund. That one's just like, God. I just hate that one so much. Look.
Is this a Barca thing, or?
No. I'm talking more about, like, I would say more so about teams kind of complaining about, oh man, the team only wants to make money, or like the team is only selling this guy for money, stuff like that, or, and it's so, I tell you, it's so weird because soccer, I think, is the only sport where people would complain about their team spending money. Like, I swear to God, it'd be like, man, how could we sign this guy for this money? Or like when people, the one that kills me the most is when people complain about who's on the shirt sponsor. Like, how does it align? How does it align ethically with, the team or something? It's like, dude, unless you're going to be paying to be the shirt sponsor, then I don't want to hear it ever again.
Oh my God, they let Spotify buy the rights to the stadium, and now we get $1 billion. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, exactly.
But we also can't buy players, so I'm gonna get pissed off about that too. Like, what? What are you talking about?
By the way, speaking of Spotify, I'm only calling Barca Stadium the Spotify Camp Nou from now on. So, because it's so funny, because they're like, "Oh man, we're the team. Like, we're the team that does it right."
Tradition.
That, like, yeah, tradition.
La Masia.
Family.
Yeah,
all this bullshit, and then it's like, hey, we'll sell literally any part of the club we can,
and still can't buy any players
to register Pau Vitor, which is the funniest thing of all time when he gets lumped in, because I'm like, I wish there was like a point where they had to make a decision between the two of them of like who to register, and they'd be like, ooh, Sorry, pal, but we were just throwing you a bone, putting your name into consideration there.
God.
So yeah, I mean, none really that I was thinking of. Was there any that you had then, or?
No, because I just really went for things that personally piss me off about each sport. I really like that. I really like that rule,
That's
though.
your MO.
Yeah, it's just when we did the what was the things we hate about the Premier League a couple weeks ago. That was a heartfelt episode for me. That meant a lot.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, exactly. I know this is kind of like a follow up to that more so than anything. So just kind of getting out all the grievances you couldn't let out in that episode, which I understand and I respect.
Yeah. So let's move on to our last sort of, I guess, task that we're going to go into. I wanted to sort of change the rules just a little bit because I was thinking about mine at least in our who he played for teams, because I was like, first off, I even personally have never heard of some of these clubs, so I'm going to change it. I'm going to change it a little bit.
That's
to
amazing.
Who he play for,
Country.
What country is he playing in? Because
fair.
I could not name a club in two of my countries that that I picked out guys for. So I'm like, it's not fair to be like, hey, Chad, which Andorran club does this guy play for? If you don't know it, then you're an idiot. So
yeah, I know. Well, that was the thing we kind of talked about, like to what extent we were going to be doing these kind of before the episode, and it got me nervous when you were talking to me about some of the guys, because I'm like, shit, I hope this dude isn't going to be asking me which Swiss club certain guys are on, because that's even outside of my European knowledge.
If it was a Swiss club, it would be by far the biggest club of any of the players that I've compiled here.
Jesus, okay. That's crazy. I love, you talk about all the time, you love when we kind of give this blank slate of topic and then we're kind of able to pick for ourselves how we interpret it. It's funny, a lot of mine, I tried to go with guys who were in, I don't know. I mean, look, it's not like you're going to sit here and name guys on Premier League teams and be like, man, did you know Raheem Sterling played for Arsenal?
Yeah.
It's not going to... There still has to be some element of, wait, what the hell league is he in? So it's difficult.
So you more went for obscure clubs, whereas I went for obscure leagues?
More so, I would say. I mean, but the thing is, it's not like, of the ones I have, I only have one guy in a top 5 league, so it's not like I'm sitting here...
I mean, like, this guy plays for Marseille, can you believe it?
Yeah, exactly. I don't have Joffrey Kondogbia in there or anything like that.
God, who did I see playing the other day?
Got sent off in his debut for Marseille last season, which was awesome.
God, who did I see playing the other day that was just like, what the hell? I think it must have been an FA Cup game where I saw someone playing. I was like, that guy either A, still plays, or B, plays for this team. I don't remember who it was, though. But
it's funny to see those. Yeah. It's funny to see those.
Let's go back and forth.
Okay.
Let's go one for one.
We both came up with about 5.
Yeah.
So
I'll start off with a player. This is kind of a layup, and it's more just to talk about this person because we just talked about this recently. And that is my boy Nabil Fekir. What league does he play in?
He's playing in that UAE league, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure the name of the club is Al Jazeera.
There we go.
I actually looked it up that day. You told me Will was playing in the same league as him.
Al Jazeera. Shout out to my boy Will Collins, who's playing in that league now. This Al Jazeera club, they also have Kerem Rekic, who used to play a decent amount of Bundesliga football, the Turkish center back, and also Mohamed El Neni is in the team along with Nabil Fekir. So it's just like
it's funny to see the clubs where it's like you have no business having multiple guys that played in top 5 leagues, much less one. But somehow you have 4.
Nabil Fekir 4-2 in 7 games this year in the UAE Pro League. So
the crazy thing is he's like what, 32? I don't even know if he's that old.
Yeah, he's 31. He's not even washed. He's just not at a big club.
So that's insane. He's got to take the cake for like most random of any of these.
I know it was
when you look at him career-wise, not really, because he's always just been like, hey, where can I get a paycheck? But just talking about like where he's at compared to his age is crazy.
I know this is a little bit before your time, but he was kind of one of those early guys when I first started getting into football that was like the 18, 19-year-old, basically what Ryan Cherky is now to people, I guess, where it's like, yo, there's this 18-year-old kid that plays for Leon. I'm telling you, he's going to be the greatest player of all time. And then he just wasn't. But then people, window after window, were like, hey, Liverpool linked with Fekir. Arsenal linked with Fekir. Oh, if they get Fekir, it's going to be over. And it's just kind of like, he was one of those guys for a long time. Now he's playing in a really big side.
Would you say he was kin to Houssem Aouar? Like those two were kind of
Aouar, and then I saw your boy Maxence Caqueret just got a big move.
I was gonna say he was like the next in line of that right before Shirky. Like it was like the Caqueret. I mean, Caqueret was getting linked with people like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, could this dude play for Bayern one day?
I should have added this into my list, but I sent it to you on Instagram already. Have you checked your Instagram DMs from me?
Oh, yeah, the Enzo Lefebvre signing?
Enzo Lefebvre. Me and Chad were huge fans of the Football Daily channel back in the day. And this dude, for an entire, probably year-long period, it was like, hey, do you need a midfielder that can kind of do little bit of everything? You got to sign Enzo Lefebvre. You got to sign Enzo Lefebvre. He's now on loan in fucking Sunderland from Roma. So he's on loan from a team that I said maybe had the worst 2024 of any club in Europe to a championship club. So, I mean, it's kind of hitting rock bottom for Enzo Lefebvre after being so highly touted probably only like 2 or 3 years ago.
Oh, yeah. When he was coming out of
Lorient.
I think of Lorient, when he made the move to Rennes.
Yep.
Because if you like, we could honestly do a full Rennes podcast of like, wait, they've had, like when they do the stupid thing on Twitter where it's XI.
If they never sold players,
anybody. Yeah, like Rennes low-key would be like the best team in France probably.
I mean, he was kind of signed as like the later Camavinga replacement, like, I guess.
Oh, yeah, exactly. That's, a little bit. I mean, Camavinga obviously was more of a defensive,
true DM.
Like a true DM. Yeah. Lefebvre, you probably look at as more of like a free 8. But yeah, I mean, he goes in that laundry list of people.
Very quickly, if you want to look for a player that's going to be a bust, the number one position that they play, when they go to like a really big league, like La Liga or the Premier League, free 8.
Yep, 100%.
Free. It's like, dude, this guy, he plays in France. He's a free 8. Yeah. He picks up the ball from the right wing. He dribbles it sideways across the pitch, goes to the left wing, and then runs at people and hits it top bins from 35 yards out. It's amazing. He's going to be the best player in the world. And then he comes to the Premier League and never plays.
I enjoy talking soccer with you because I'm still in the stage where I'm a bit green. Like, I'll actually admit it. I'm still green a bit just because I don't have as much historical, enough history to really look back on and be like, man, I remember the other 5 guys who had this exact profile who didn't turn out to be shit.
Are you now building it up?
Yeah, I'm starting to. Because, like, the free 8 is one, and then the other position where as soon as someone says this guy plays here, I am immediately out on them, is when someone says his position is, quote, off the striker. Like, as soon as someone says that, I am running for the hills.
Hey, you know who the current guy is right
now. Omar Mamouche,
Boom.
yeah. No, I was listening to, I don't even remember what it was, but I was listening to something. Oh, it was your boy Pat. It was him, Henry Hill, and Jalab. Which, by the way, we got to do an investigation of Jalab going from Zach Jalab to Jalab once he got his own channel.
Well, it's because Obaseki couldn't say Jalab, so they had to change his name. It's like Fair
enough. But he was like, oh yeah, Omar Mamouche, and then Jalab was like, all right, well, where do you play him? And Pat's like, oh, you just throw him out there. It's like, dude, isn't that literally like how many years in a row do we need to hear the just throw him out there and it fails miserably?
He's not quite a winger. He's not really a striker. He's not really a 10. There's only one guy that I've ever seen successfully play that position, and that's
Griezmann.
Antoine Griezmann, correct.
But
Now,
that's
the guy
because he
making
had
a
enough
case,
of a work rate.
correct. The guy making a case for it right now is Julian Alvarez. No, Havertz is the worst player of all time. I'm just kidding. I'm not 100% out on him, but I hate him
I was
right
going to
this
say,
second.
you weren't saying that a week ago.
I don't hate him. I'm not out, but I hate him right this second. But it's like Julian Alvarez, if you were to be like, hey, he's a winger, no. He's a striker, no. He's definitely not a 10. But he can kind of be effective in all those different spots. So I guess it's just, if you want to play that position, go to Atleti, unless your name is Joao Felix, who's another one of those guys where it's like, just he's an attacker.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. If your position is attacker, I'm out. I'm out completely.
Yep.
That was a long way to get all the way around.
Now Bill
who he played
Fekir.
for. Yeah. I'm gonna go with my first guy. Guy who's actually kind of been on the move a bit in the past couple of years. Had a spell where felt like every big team. This is another one of the FD group of.
Oh God.
Man, if you need to create, if you play a back three, if you need a creative left-sided guy, you need to go out there and get Robin Gosens.
So he came through at Atalanta. That's sort of where he made his name.
Yeah, he did.
I couldn't even give you a good guess of like where he's been the past couple of years. Was he the one I saw playing wingback for Germany in the Euros? Was that him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was Gosens. I think
because like him, Castagna, Meunier, they've all kind of melded into like one person to me. So Robin Gosens, we're guessing the league he plays in.
Yeah, this one you would be able to. I mean, you definitely know this club like 100%. But if you just the knowledge that you're giving me, if you just guess the league, then I won't hate you at all.
All right, so just again, I have zero clue is basically what I'm coming down to, but I'm thinking failed German player. I'm just gonna go that he's playing in the Eredivisie.
Ooh, okay, not. I don't want to say too much, but not a bad thought process or guess. But no, he's actually in Serie A playing for Fiorentina right now.
Yeah, see.
Yeah.
But also, what's weird about Serie A with me too is there's so much like up and down. Like a club will make the Champions League one year and then finish 17th, and no one will bat an eyelid. Like what's happening with Bologna this year. But
well, Bologna at least like you can understand it. They had their three best players and manager taken, so it's like, I guess it makes sense. Yeah, good job.
Yeah,
good job.
Which I'm still in on him, just so everybody knows. But yeah, so yeah, Robin Gosens. There was no way I was ever going to get that. Anything really happening off of the shores of England, I'm not really sure about. But then when you start getting into failed German players that came through in Serie A and then moved out and moved back in, that's when it's just completely out of my wheelhouse. I have a fun one. Go on.
I'll fully admit, I thought I completely whiffed on his Inter move. I thought his move to Inter was going to be like insane, but it just ended up. I mean, DeMarco was just a way better player than him, and still is.
Whoa. Oh, okay. See, this is why I got it wrong. On loan from Union Berlin.
Yeah.
I thought he was still at Union Berlin, so that's why I was. That's why I said Eredivisie.
Union. They're another one in that group where it's like, all right, Champions League, and then you're battling relegation the next season.
Yeah, exactly. So I have a fun one for you. This is for those listeners that don't know. This is one of Chad's favorite all-time players.
Jesus.
You might know this one because of how high-profile clubs he's played for. Eric Maxim Choupo-Moting.
That's so funny because he was on my list.
Damn. Well, I guess we can just talk about it then.
New York Red Bulls.
New York Red Bulls with Lamine Yamal.
Yeah, fuck that
Yeah.
guy.
So, New York Red Bulls, it's just kind of hilarious because I thought we all agreed that failed players are now supposed to go to Saudi.
Saudi, yeah.
But now...
Well, there's like a...
It's a tier.
Like
It's a tier.
Well, partly that, and then also it's like... it depends. Like, are you an ethical person? Like, if you're an ethical person, you're going to the MLS. You're not going to Saudi.
I love that.
Or something like. Oh, yeah, I know. As soon as they try to bring like ethics and shit like that into the game or into like transfer conversations, I'm over it. So.
Well, it's even crazier because I don't know what really people's perception. People also hate the United States outside of the United States, so they'll be like, "Oh, you're going there where they allow school shootings." And it's like, dude, like what? I've seen stuff like that, like Messi going to Florida where they have like a bad governor. Can you believe he's doing that? It's like, dude, I don't think Messi's up on Floridian gubernatorial politics. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
I think he got offered a huge bag, and David Beckham's there, and Suarez and Jordi Alba and Sergio Busquets are there. So I think that's why he went, but I could be wrong.
And Neymar soon as well. Don't count that out. And he makes 3 appearances, and people are like, no, he's the best player in the history of the league.
Look at this compilation of what he did against Orlando City today in 16 minutes.
Bro, look at these 2. He had 2 turns and a back heel.
And he did a rainbow flick. He did a rainbow flick. It didn't come off, but the fact that he tried it,
he lost it.
Yeah, the fact that he tried it just shows that he loves football. So since I got one stolen from me, I'm gonna go straight back.
Go ahead, original smile.
I'm going Chucky Lozano.
Chucky. Okay, this one I actually know because
damn.
There was he was actually linked with a move to San Diego FC, which I'm not sure if they started playing in the MLS or if they're about to.
This is about to be their first season.
Okay, because they've been heavily linked with De Bruyne too for some reason. Like for whatever reason, it's like, hey, he's just going to San Diego. I have no idea why. Dude's from Belgium and has played in England and Germany for his whole career. But people think he desperately wants to be in San Diego. All is to say, Chucky Lozano plays for PSV Eindhoven, though. I'm 99% sure.
Well, now I got to redo my research because I had him down at San Diego FC. Yeah, he plays for San Diego FC. He just left PSV for San Diego.
Okay.
So
I knew there was.
If you would have wrote it all out on a short answer question, I would have given you like an 80.
Partial credit.
Yeah.
Mr. Kidd would have given me half points.
Exactly. So yeah, San Diego FC, their first designated player, and he's kind of hilarious to me because, again, this may predate your real soccer watching time, but there was a time around that 2017-ish range where he just first got that PSV move where it was like, oh, U.S. versus Mexico, it's Pulisic versus Lozano. Like, each of them got a guy.
That's the matchup.
And now it's like Chucky Lozano sucks ass. And really, he had a pretty decent year during lockdown for Napoli, where I think he scored like 15 in all comps or something like that.
I remember he was actually decent. They had almost like an Almiron type of... They had like an Almiron type of run. Sorry, Lucas Vasquez shouldn't be playing. Sorry, I need to focus.
Yeah, it's okay. But, I get it.
No, he had a run for Napoli where he was almost like an Almiron type, where it was like he had like a year and a half, 2 years, where it was like, hey man, shoot, could this guy be a consistent 8 to 10 goal scorer per season? And it was like, nah, he really just had 1 year, and you guys are just continuing to feed off that 3 years later.
Well, I know you'll be shocked to hear this, but it was a winger that did absolute numbers in Eredivisie who went to an actual league and didn't do numbers.
Yeah, we've never seen that before. So
the guy I got to hold my hands up with is Cody Gakpo. He's actually like a really, really good player, and I was just out on him simply the fact that he did numbers in the Eredivisie. Because actually, it's like an inverse with me. The more goals you score in Eredivisie, the less I think you're going to score. Once you make it to like a actual real league where they have like clubs with above £1 million to spend on salary. So, but yeah, I also like the fact that Napoli has become now like sort of. I
don't even know what they are.
Well, they're like a factory for people that have a really, really good season and then never do anything again. Like, I remember this time last year, Kvaradona is the best winger anyone's ever seen. He's an amazing dribbler. He's way better than guys in the Premier League. Like, he's way better than guys like Salah. He's way better than guys like Saka. He's way better than these Premier League wingers that don't have flair. And now he's refusing to play for the club or something, and he's asking for a move, even though he's put up like 5 goal contributions this year or something like that.
Can I do a quick second on him and his...
Please.
Not really him, but more so on the PSG side of things, because, as you said, it looked like he told Conte 2 days ago, or Kvaratskhelia told Conte 2 days ago that basically he's like, yeah, I'm not playing for the club anymore. I want to leave because PSG are making this huge offer for me. Where I guess it said they're looking at like 4 or 5 times his salary.
Number I saw was 5, yeah.
Probably putting him at close to, I would say, £200,000 a week, if not more. I mean, I have no idea what he's on right now, but would have to probably be at least 200K.
Right.
Or he would have to be on at least 200K, probably going to PSG.
Right.
I don't understand. I mean, I guess I understand it because PSG are like, when you really look at it, they're like, they don't actually have a transfer plan at all. But did they not? They spent, I'm pulling it up right now, they spent $50 million on Desiree Douy this past summer, left winger from Rennes, part of that Rennes factory that we were talking about, who's been really, really good for them and really exciting, I would say, in the last 2 months. Started playing a good amount, even at false 9 some right before they went into the
favorite position
extended,
at PSG.
Yeah, Kangin Lee's spot, right. And then the year before that, they signed Bradley Barcola for $45 million, who's a left winger, Ousmane Dembele for $50 million, who's a right winger, and Randall Colomwani for $95 million, who's like a left winger / striker. Why do they just keep signing left wingers? Like, do they not... God, that was an amazing tackle. How do they not, like, just kind of settle on a guy? Like, to me, you already know how I feel about Barcola. I actually think Barcola is, like, probably the best player in Ligue 1, maybe second or third. Probably the best, I would say the best attacker on that PSG team, no doubt about it for me. And now they're going to go and find someone who's playing in the exact same position, because the only position Kvaratskhelia has ever played and had success in for a club is on the left wing. You know, he's played in a front two. He played in a front two for Georgia at the Euros. It was fine. I think Mikatadze actually probably ended up overshadowing him during the competition.
Which is always good.
But yeah, exactly. The guy who's moving to the exact same league for like a quarter of the fee when he moved to Monaco. But so I just don't understand it. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I'm kind of mad at PSG. I thought their transfer business was starting to make sense post Neymar, Mbappe, Messi, but now it's just kind of reverting back to the same old stupid shit.
I don't know. They're kind of one of those clubs where I actually will give a pass to their fans being pissed off and like, oh, they're only about money. They're only about because of what you just said. Like, if you want to spend money, I love that. But also, can you do it in a way to make us better, like a better team, and not just be like, oh, that name is... Because that's what it seems to be. Over the past 10 years, it's like, oh, that name's out there, I'm going to get him.
Right.
Oh, that name's out there, I'm going to get him. Like... there's just, especially in the modern game, there's just no way they were like, you know what's going to work? Messi, Neymar, Mbappe, front three.
Yeah.
Like in an era where every player needs to defend, needs to defend, and every player needs to press, and all this other stuff. There's just no way they thought, we're just going to give these, we're going to defend with 7, and it's just going to work.
Exactly.
So,
and it'll be fine because we're playing Danilo Pereira. It's like, oh, okay.
At center back.
Yeah, exactly.
So why don't you hit me with who he played for?
All right, Sebastian Aller.
Oh God, I just saw.
Been in the news a bit.
I saw he moved somewhere, but again, I know for a fact he didn't move to England. So that failed West Ham move ensured that he was never scored an absolute worldie of a bicycle kick in that West Ham shirt, and that was about all he did.
That was his full contribution there.
I would say that he's probably playing back in Eredivisie as well.
You're absolutely right.
Hold on.
So,
He's playing.
There's no chance he gets a club.
Is he
There's
playing for Heracles?
No. Herenveen you're thinking of is the club you're thinking of.
Hey, Martin Odegaard is about to get his shirt retired at that club. So, when he went on loan from Real Madrid.
Madrid, yeah. He had some good spells there and at Vitesse, but... No, and you could argue Vitesse is a breeding ground for number 10s. They had Mount too, but no, he is playing in the Eredivisie. He's playing for FC Utrecht.
Oh, okay.
Now he's still owned by Dortmund, was on loan for the season at Leganés, who are basement dwellers in La Liga. And then halfway through the season, after he scored 1 goal for them, they broke his loan off, and now he's on loan at Utrecht.
I love it.
So, yeah.
How the mighty have fallen.
Wild career kind of last year or so for him.
Again, kind of another example of, sort of that people that score goals in certain leagues that I still don't buy.
Understand, yeah.
Where it's like, because even, God, I want to say recently, this dude actually had a pretty decent year.
He was fine, I think, his first year at Dortmund. I'm almost positive he was, actually okay.
Yeah, he only scored 9. So, okay, shocker, who he scored a shit ton of goals for before he got that Dortmund move. In the Eredivisie, he scored 34 in all comps. Now, to be fair, he scored 11 in 8 games in the Champions League.
Champions League. Yep. He was good for them in the Champions League.
Yeah, for Ajax. So, I mean, those Champions League goals you can't really fake. So I guess I'll give him credit for that. But then went to Dortmund and scored 12 goals in 41 games in all comps. Yeah. Leganés played 9 games, didn't score. Now, like Chad said, on loan in Utrecht. So it's just kind of like, I don't want to kill the guy because obviously, he had the whole cancer thing, and anyone that can kind of come back from that and be a reasonably decent player, I'm going to give him credit for that. That's why I'm so happy when David Brooks scores. David Brooks has actually been pretty decent for Bournemouth this year off the bench, but when David Brooks scored the other day for them, I think it got called back, unfortunately. But
one of those players you just all root for. Everyone rooting for.
Yeah, exactly. Just like how we're all rooting for this to get called a pen in the El Clasico.
Oh, I mean, it 100% is.
We'll see. To me. We'll see right here.
Yeah, this will determine how much
Florentino Perez has these guys in his pocket.
We'll see.
All right.
We can definitely afford it more than Barca, that's for sure.
Facts. Yeah.
All right, yeah, it's a penalty. You can just tell by the way he's walking.
So let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go with your boy, who you said you still have some stock in. You haven't been able to get your hands off of the stock, which I think the stock for this guy is similar to my T-Law stock that I still have, where it's like, it's actually not even worth hoping that it's going to even rise a little bit ever again. But Abdou Diallo.
I'm going to do one better than what you're thinking, because I actually know what club this guy plays for, because he play. Well, I know it's Al Arabi in Qatar, and the only reason I know that is because him and Verratti both moved there last summer from PSG. There was some conversations about hey, does anyone know what's going on? Can we get some financial fair play involved for any club other than City or Barca? Come on now, please.
Does Marco Verratti deserve to be in that list of players who just never got that move? Obviously, I know he played for PSG for a decade, but it's every single summer it was Liverpool need a midfielder. Who are they going to get? Oh, Verratti's out there. Oh, Arsenal need a midfielder. Who are they going to get? Oh, Verratti's out there. Oh, Barcelona needs a midfielder. Who are they going to go and get? Verratti. It was all the time. It was Verratti linked with some huge move that never ever happened. Obviously, playing for PSG, you could technically say it happened, but it didn't.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm more on the PSG side of things than I think you are. I give them more credit than I think you do. So I'm gonna say he was already at one of those clubs with PSG. But if you would argue, if your argument is he could have moved to Barca or Real Madrid or any of those super the handful of clubs that are above PSG,
right?
Because they have the history. Then he never got to that level, and quality wise he probably was there, but I don't know. I'm not. It does feel like he wasted it a bit just because we never saw him in a competitive league really,
right,
where we were watching him week in week out, but I don't know. I feel like the people who know still know.
It was more sad because you would see him play in the Champions League in the knockout stages, and you were just dude, this guy. I just wish I could watch him week in, week out. I kind of feel the same way about Nicolo Barea. I'm not saying that he needs to get some big move because obviously he's done very well in his career.
Yep.
But just as a person that really only watches the Premier League, I would just love to see him play in a league where I can just watch him every single week because he's always more than impressed me when I've watched him.
He is, and Barella is a really good player. But I also think like, it's kind of funny because there are also some of those guys where, oh yeah, they can do that, or you think like, man, I can't wait for this guy to get the move, and then when it happens, you're like, damn. And I'm going to use the classic example of Remo Freuler was one of the best midfielders in Serie A. Moved to a relegation
newly promoted team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Moved to a newly promoted Nottingham Forest, played for like half a season, and then they were just like, yeah, we're good. So he would honestly be a great person for who we play for now. Last thing I remember, he was at Genoa, something like that.
I actually looked this one up recently. Bologna. He still plays for Bologna.
Oh, okay. Fair. You know what? I think Genoa. I think I was thinking of Malinowski. I think he's playing for them right now. But he's another guy who like it's just. And Barella's like, let me be clear. Barella is like definitely better than either of those guys. But it's just like
similar mold.
Yeah. Exactly.
Wow.
So, mother F.
Wow.
So I told you Lucas Vasquez doesn't need to be playing first team football.
I mean, that was an incredible
no, he
goal.
doesn't. Yeah, but he doesn't.
Yeah, but that's fair. But I mean, the Serie A guys always kind of make me laugh. Serie A midfielders, because I hear all the time, "Oh, these guys are so good. They're so good. They're so good." Milinkovic Savic is going to get some huge move eventually, and then he gets it to Saudi. It's like, okay, cool.
Yeah,
that was fun. I'm glad I heard this guy's name for the past 10 years. I thought he was going to go Koulibaly on me and just move to someone way too late. And it's like, this is the guy you guys were talking about for all that time. It's like, well, not really. He's 32 now, but yeah, kind of.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, that would have been. I mean, that'll be perfect when he moves to West Ham in a year.
West Ham gets their hands on some weird players.
I know. They're like the stomping ground for like, hey, who's the guy who was wanted by the Prem 4 years ago, but now actually wants to move there? It's like, just send him to West Ham.
The Mohamed Kudus one, though, still doesn't make much sense to me because he was like actively being linked to really big clubs. And then it was like, yeah, he's not going to Arsenal or Liverpool or these other clubs. He's actually going to West Ham. It's like, what?
The Kudus one was still weird because it was like, exactly like what you said. There was a point where it was like, all right, Arsenal or Liverpool, who's he going to? And then it was like, and even PSG were kind of in the mix for a bit. And then it was like, all right, nah, like he's not going to go to a super club. Like he wants to go to a club where he knows he's going to be able to play a whole lot. And then it was like, all right, he's going to Brighton. And then it was like, all right, nah, he's actually going to West Ham. And I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Like, at least at Brighton, it was like, all right, this makes a little bit of sense, like development club, take the next step. And then I was like, West Ham, like, what even is West Ham's, identity? So,
on a scale on a scale of 1 to 10, how annoyed are you of people pretending that players already play for teams before they actually get the move? When it's like, well, we all know this guy's going to this club this summer, so. Because right now it's pissing me off personally because everyone's pretending that Isak has already signed a contract with Arsenal. They're like, oh yeah, so they're going to have Isak, and last summer you could, or I guess even right now, it's like, well, we all know that Trent's going to be at Real Madrid next year. We all know Mo Salah is not going to be at the club next year. It's like, do we? Like, is that how that works?
Yeah. No, it's not. I mean, look, I talked about how I'm young in the games, so I don't have those years to go back on and be like, hey, just look at this as the example of why you should never believe a transfer rumor. But the Hazard one alone, I think I was just barely there enough where it was like, hey, we're getting this dude every window for 18 straight months, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, then it actually happened. And it's a case of careful what you wish for, so we're good on that one. I did have one last guy that I wanted you to guess. This is the last one I'm gonna hit you with. Jerome Boateng.
I would have said retired, but
retired.
God, Jerome Boateng. Actually,
he's actually playing somewhere, and he's made some appearances.
He doesn't still play for Marseille, does he?
No, he does not.
I thought I had that one.
And that was Lyon. He was at
Lyon. That's what it was.
Yeah.
God, so
he's actually been at 2 clubs since then.
Ah, shit. So let's go. I mean, it'd be very lazy of me to say again a German player in the Eredivisie, but I'm gonna go that he plays in Switzerland.
Not a bad guess. Actually, Austria. He's playing for Lask. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Jerome Boateng. 37 years old, I think.
Nice.
Still can't move. Still can't.
It was
move.
actually really sad with him because there was a time where I had so much Jerome Boateng stock that it actually was incredible. They like called the SEC on me, and they're like, "Hey man, you can't buy any more of this stock. Like you actually own the entire company, and there's no stocks left for you to buy." And I don't know, it was just so weird with him because it just fell apart basically all at once.
So quickly.
It was like he's the best. I personally thought he was the best center back in the world around that 2016 time, like when Bayern was not winning the Champions League with Pep, but still they were like very, very, very good. So I thought he was the best center back in the world at that time, like that Euro 2016. And then, like by the time even the World Cup came around, he was just unplayable for Germany and Bayern. They actually couldn't play him in big games because he was so immobile and I guess not smart enough to make up for it, which is weird because I don't know.
But then it's crazy because he had a renaissance in, like he was the starting center back for them in their treble season for Bayern. It was him and Alaba was the partnership, and it was like, what's even going on here? But yeah. Hell of a career, Boateng. Hope it ends soon.
City legend.
Yeah, he was, but fair enough. Farrington.
Wow, so he actually played at Salernitana or
Salernitana.
As you can tell, it's probably my first time ever saying that club's name out loud. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say, team that constantly goes from Serie A and Serie B. There's no chance you knew that.
Yeah. One last guy I kind of wanted to talk about, just as a joke, my boy Gregor Strakowiak.
Oh yeah, I mean, I would have to guess he's playing in Poland, but I couldn't name a single club in that league.
I'll do you one better.
Other than, oh geez,
playing. Who are you gonna say? Lech Poznan.
No, who's the green? Legia Warsaw, I think, is the. I know he was there at one point.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
So he actually is now playing at. He actually never played for Legia Warsaw. Funnily enough, he played for Lokomotiv Moscow, who you might have been thinking of.
Okay. You know what? Yep.
So he went Russian Premier League to Greek Super League on loan to a Saudi team. Then on a permanent to a different Saudi team, and now he plays for a Northosis Famagusta in the Cypriot First League, which is in Cyprus.
I got
which is barely a country.
That's crazy.
Mind you, this dude was the starting DM for a for a back-to-back Europa League winning team, won a couple trophies with PSG, but never really nailed down a spot.
Yep.
Had that Premier League season with West Brom where they were legitimately horrible, which was I mean, they finished bottom, which like at that time it's like you're literally the worst team of all time, basically, if you're finishing bottom of the Premier League.
Was that during Grady Diangana's spell there?
Yeah, that same Mateus Pereira season.
Yeah, yep.
So
they're playing a nice back three.
Yeah, exactly. So it was kind of a wild time to be in the Premier League. But my boy Gregor Strakowiak, when he was like looking for a move away from Sevilla, I wanted him badly at Arsenal. And
then, thankfully, you didn't have to deal with that.
Yeah, we dodged that bullet. Thankfully. But, yeah, who he played for, it just kind of shows how quickly it can end for some of these guys. And
soccer is especially unique because the guys just don't give up. Like, the guys, when it's like, there's evidence that they're done, and then it'll be like 4 more clubs. Like Boateng's going to play for 2 more clubs before he retires.
Well, it's also the fact that A, there's so many leagues, and B, like in basketball, when you're past it, it's like, all right, I'm going to go be the 15th man and play 7 minutes a night or whatever. You can't do that in soccer. It's like, are you going to play games or are you not? So It's like, hey, yeah, this guy's putting up full 90s in Cyprus. Like basketball players, it's like, oh, he's playing 9 minutes a game for the Nuggets, and he just kind of stands under the basket and does this.
Exactly. All right, DeAndre.
Yeah, so that kind of wraps up our 21st episode. I really thought we had some interesting topics. I really enjoyed the commissioner for a day topic.
Absolutely.
What I'm going to try to do for you guys is try to release some smaller videos of our segments to make it maybe a little bit more digestible, see if that can maybe, pique some people's interest a little bit more. And, just really, really excited for, 2025. This is going to be my year.
Calling it.
I don't know how or why, it just is. But obviously everyone fingers crossed that that'll be nice. That Real Madrid can stage a comeback and
don't even waste your time.
And beat Barca today.
Everyone knows this trophy doesn't mean anything. So
cool. Without any further ado, appreciate you guys listening in. Comments, for stuff that you'd like us to talk about. Good luck. Everyone watch the NFL playoffs because, the college football playoff is now meaningless. And we'll see you guys next week for episode 22.